I'm Tabitha Rock.
And I'm Sam Davenport.
Born and bred in Melbourne, we live and breathe property, and we know the Melbourne market like the back of our hand. We've both been buying and selling real estate in Metro Melbourne for over 2 decades combined, and we've learned a few lessons along the way.
Welcome to the Property Culture Podcast. We have got
Simon Curtin.
one of Melbourne's best residential real estate agents from Abercrombie. Thank you so much for joining us.
How good to be here. My first time in a studio like this. Fantastic.
In This Is a Studio.
Well, this one and any
This
other one.
is a studio.
This is a studio,
This is
yes.
one.
It's a very confusing name, but we like it.
I love it.
It's an obvious name.
I tell you
It
what
is
else I like.
Yeah.
Abercrombie's branding.
Thank you.
The baby blue.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's super cute. Looks great. Looks fresh.
Yeah.
Modern. Even though it's one of the oldest brands around. Is that
It
right?
is. Well, it's Abercrombie's and Beatty was the old brand Turek established agency.
Right.
So a lot of people confuse it, but Abercrombie's itself is 20 years. We're in our 20th
20
year this year.
years. Wow.
Oh, so that's fairly fresh.
Fresh. And so you're wearing the Abercrombie's blue
I
jacket.
know.
You
Actually.
both.
Oh
You
my
both are looking a
God.
bit
This is,
Abercrombie's
I'm
over there.
feeling this. We got, and Self-Titled just did our rebranding. So they're a design studio in Paran. Fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
bit of a plug. Love
Yes.
it. I'm so excited. Sam and I are so excited to have you on. I think because Abercrombie's is sort of more of a smaller boutique agency, but also because you've had a really interesting career.
Yeah.
I
So
have.
talk us through what has led you to be selling in one of Melbourne's best areas.
Best areas. Yeah, it's a good question. So I guess life took us between Brisbane and Melbourne. So Melbourne family, grew up in Brisbane. One of 7 kids, so 5 boys, all in real estate.
Wow.
And
All resi?
commercial and residential.
Okay.
So more leaning to resi. And the journey was really always Dad's a sales guy, great
Yeah.
communicator, great
Yeah.
person, and so all the boys are basically in sales and have achieved good things. And
Wow.
yeah, so it's been
So
great.
7 siblings, all boys, no, 2 girls.
5 boys, 2 girls.
What do the
Yeah.
2 girls do?
So one's no longer with us, unfortunately,
I'm
but Gabby's a midwife. Yeah, so
Oh,
yeah,
midwife.
yeah.
Up there with
So
the best.
she's an absolute ripper. But yeah, so it's been sales, but I got a cadetship with Mercedes-Benz Australia,
Right.
which was fantastic. It was a very formal German company, and we got instilled really good etiquette around clients. And
Yeah.
if you think to Mercedes back then, we were selling cars that it was a really super premium luxury item to have.
Yeah.
And
High-end service.
high-end service.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really good training ground. And in fact, that's what we're doing. We're doing a cadetship program essentially with our business now.
Are you?
Yeah, at Abercrombie's.
So, but
Yeah,
that's the path. So
nice.
yeah, between really the change came when I started at commercial leasing at Jones Lang LaSalle. And that wasn't for me. I probably, where I realised that I guess I could interweave my skill set was with the dealing with people's emotions, as we were just talking about, and helping them through that busy time, hectic time of life, selling a house.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they say it's up there with one of the most stressful things to do, sell a house or transact property or move, even just moving.
But you see it with people, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
They
Yeah.
fall apart. They
Unbelievable.
fall apart time and time
I
again.
think what we've got really good at is preempting the emotion and really making sure that the clients know, like I'm negotiating on a few at the moment and we're doing some pre-auction offers, some off-market, some all different combinations. And I said, imagine if this happens, just sit with that feeling. Imagine if this scenario happens, sit with that feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that's really helpful for people because we know all the different waves of feelings
absolutely.
people can go through.
A lot of pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you both are high EQ, I should say. So, so you get it. And if you where people don't get it, that's where it breaks apart.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
How long have you been at Abercrombie's, just side note?
Just coming up to 10 years.
Yeah,
so it's
right,
been, it's
okay.
gone, it is, I just was speaking to someone this morning, it just feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
I started and I had no idea what I was doing, really didn't understand the market.
Yeah.
I just come out of doing what you do. And I really wanted to work with a broader team because I'd been used to bigger teams.
Yeah.
And so it's been great, 10 years.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, love it.
And I guess we know what a day looks like for a real estate agent, but a lot of our listeners probably don't. And I think a lot of them think it's just, swanning around drinking coffees and driving around in your Mercedes. Is that what you're
No, I drive exclusively Rolls Royce. Yeah,
Of course. Selling too many of those big mansions.
I wish. No. What is a day? Gosh, when your questions came through, I actually I thought about that. This year is very different to last year, so I think it's always changing.
Yeah.
And obviously you have to wear multiple hats, but I'm a business owner. You're training younger people, and you're also servicing your clients and making buyer calls. And so every day is different. But at the moment, 2025, we have had the busiest sort of let's say 6-week period I've ever had professionally.
Amazing.
So it's hectic. It's busy. There's so many moving parts. I think, as you both know, people just do not understand or appreciate until they sell a house or buy a house how many things go on.
How many cogs are turning. Balls are in the air. And, I mean, at Abercrombie's you do a few things differently, which we'll touch on throughout the podcast. But, I mean, do you have anything, because you weren't at another residential agency before this one?
My youngest brother Paul started an agent in Brisbane. He was one of 3 founders of Place Estate Agents. So I've lived vicariously through that experience. They've been going 25 years. They're very successful. So I sort of had a good insight into that. I did work. That was my first residential opportunity up there at a new franchised office. But when coming into Abercrombie's, look, they've got
do the same sort of. I mean, because when we were selling, agents would, get in on Monday morning, would sit down in a sales meeting. We went through the numbers through the open. There was, it was all written down on a sheet. We had no iPads. There was no CRM systems, or
we had to
put it in after the fact. They weren't on your mobile or iPad, and then would go off on our caravan. And so that doesn't happen anymore, I believe, for a lot of agencies. Is that something that
we still do that?
You still do a caravan?
I think so for the people, what a caravan is when any new properties are being put online for the general public to see that week. There's a list of them within the agency, number of bedrooms, if it's vacant, key safe, all the different bits of information of the property. And then all the agents go out in cars to look at them all, everyone's stock. And I actually think it's such a valuable part of
it. Is. I think, look, just you cannot relate. We do some virtual now, to be frank, but anything that really needs understanding, and that doesn't matter about price point, we turn up. And so it's 9 out of 10 we go to.
Yeah.
And some days you really regret it from a time basis.
I know, hours.
Yeah.
It's good team building though, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what
good
your
team
thoughts.
building, good practice with appraisals and valuations, good buyer work. You can work the buyers, sending them from one property to the next. You know exactly what they're talking about. That Grange Road property that I looked at, which was sold recently, you cannot explain to someone how incredible that property was unless you walked through the doors.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the clients really do appreciate the broader team coming through. They're always surprised at how big how many agents we have.
Yeah.
But I think it's really the sole reason we continue to do it to this day is because the team can talk with conviction about that opportunity.
Exactly.
And especially you've asked a question around off markets, how do you do it if you don't know?
Exactly.
What that building and the setting and the overlooking and all
and
those.
you can look at RP data, you can look at the result, you can look at the sales result. Like we used to on Fridays or whatever, Mondays, I don't know, go through the auction results from the weekend. If you've walked through the property and you hear the result, it sticks with you in a very different way than if you just hear an address and the result,
Well, I think it's the same reason that we don't buy property sight unseen, because you don't actually, you can get all the information online, but it's not all the information unless you've pounded the pavement, whatever the
pounded the pavement. Yeah, that's right.
Pavement. Oh my gosh. But I mean, looking at this year, 2025, so we're halfway through the year. Where are you sort of seeing it go in spring? Are you seeing it kick? Are you seeing interest rates come down?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a little bit to play out with the US Trump scenario. I was watching all that as recently as last night, but his government was meant to be inflationary. That's what's playing out with his tariff policy. But essentially, if they slide into recession, the US, then that's a different ball game for America and for us, of course. So everything we follow them. So I don't see any major rate cuts. I think there's too many variables in the air.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to have a lot of same until
things over there come down.
Yeah, that's right. Until there's a thing settled down from him trying to make his impacts, if you like, and set his agenda, whatever things he's doing. But so I think it's going to be more of the same. I guess what we are seeing now, though, and is that there's just in a city of 5 million people, arguably the biggest city in Australia, and a big city in any context around the world, there's just an underlying demand for property, and so. With that, we're seeing really solid results, on certain properties, irrespective of price point. Other properties, they struggle. They'll struggle because they don't meet expectation.
And what do you think the reason for the struggle is? The vendors are misaligned with the market, or is it presentation? Is it long leases in place? Is it
all
product?
of the above? All of the above. All of the above. So I think the market's very, very, very. It's got a lot of information at its disposals. Yeah, it's educated.
Educated buyers.
It's got people like yourselves, great people, depth of market knowledge that, is just worth its weight in gold. And, people are well informed. So therefore they're selective.
Yes.
They know what they want.
Yeah.
I guess I've had 2 scenarios this week where, the social proof of another human bidding is the thing that propels people more than anything. But,
Oh, gosh, I've had a few conversations about that with clients. I said, well, they're saying that there's not much interest on the property, but I tell you right now, if we're standing out the front in 2 weeks' time on auction day, you can get people rock up on the day and start frantically bidding, and then suddenly that really changes the demand.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we hold a public auction is for that exact factor that it drives humans to compete against each other, the fear of missing out, the fact that the property, the auctioneer can say, we're going to pass it into you. If you don't bid, it's, forever hold your peace sort of thing. It's it's the perfect storm to get people moving.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess because of the irregularities, you've probably seen that we do a lot of private auctions.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to touch on. Sam and I have just been involved in a couple with your firm. How do you, what made you choose private? And tell us what it is and then why Abercrombie's has decided to do that strategy instead of out on the
public.
street.
Yeah, so it does stem back from so Jock Langley, who's a highly established agent, successful agent, and business partner of mine. He is he basically 18 years ago had a client who had a failed campaign. Jock had missed the listing initially, and it had been the normal scenario, overpromised and underdelivered, if you like. And so Jock got it back, and he and the client actually established this idea of a private auction. So we still do it to that same standard, which is we don't advertise the time and we get people to register. So you really, for the buyers, they know that they're dealing with one other or 2 others or 3 others. It still puts a deadline around the process, but it's been a really powerful thing for our clients because they equally know and feel a lot calmer.
Where they're at.
Yeah, where they're at.
Yeah.
So rather than turning up on auction day and there's no guarantee. I mean, obviously auctions are a part of our landscape and they will continue to be. So
And you can tell a client, you can tell a vendor, we've got 3 bidders coming on Saturday. But with the way that you run it, I can obviously it gives them so much more a surety around it.
And I would imagine it's good because you get their details, and because that's what I've always been worried about. I mean, I had an auction when I was a selling agent in Richmond, and the buyer did a runner. We didn't know which buyer it was, and we didn't have their details. So that would give the vendor a lot of comfort. But being devil's advocate, what do you say to the people that say, well, that really excludes the people that might just rock
turn
up on
the
auction day and, be encouraged to bid because they seek competition?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's it's the one concern that comes up nearly every time. And I guess I just reflect on the only instance where that's happened. Someone turned up at the day of the auction, at the time of the auction because they asked and we told them because it's so close. So you sort of, you've got a filter there for the majority of the process, but we let them come to the auction. We're not blocking anyone. It's really just visibility. Yeah. It could, because in fact it is a public auction. Held in private. So
totally.
Well, public auction held in private.
That's right.
Do you? Just like
that's right.
Yeah.
So But I think it's people like structure, and that's buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
It helps the process.
Yeah.
Doesn't work every time. It all relies on interest.
Yeah.
Buyer interest.
And I guess in the scenario that I was thinking of in terms of, the neighbour, I mean, I'd been on one recently where the neighbour just rocked up out the front and he bought the property.
Yes.
Unknown to the agents, hadn't walked through, didn't need to see it, was just looking to buy the neighbour's property. And in your scenario where you've got a private auction, all it would do is force them to contact you.
It forces them. I was just about to say, because we had that exact scenario, and they were trying to remain anonymous,
but they couldn't.
because
they
detected something different. And I guess it's all comfort. I mean, I've really grown up essentially. My body of my career has been with Abercrombie's in High Street, Armidale, and there's a really strong depth of experience there that we still draw on to this day, and think the way things were set up, and I think it's confidence around that process. I find a lot of agents will just gravitate to an EOI because that's the easy thing to sell to a client, where it's not the best thing for a client.
Would you change the strategy the auction day if someone's like, no, I definitely want you to advertise the time, I'm comfortable with that? Would you change, or you're like, no, you come with Abercrombie's, this is the way?
We do as you like.
Yeah.
So
Very nice.
we would always look. Once again, it's a bit of structure. So if someone is absolutely insistent on, you just call a public auction.
Yeah.
And we do public auctions.
Yeah.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
So I guess that would really explain the way we approach it. I mean, our business started carving out of, essentially Benison McKinnon, which is now part of Jellis Craig.
Yeah.
And it was to be small, not everything to everyone. It was to be focused and specific and dedicated and do the right thing for every single property, because they're all different. Clients are different.
Clients are different.
They're in different states of repair, and people.
Are you an auctioneer?
Yes, I am.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shame we didn't see you out the front. Anyway, with the gavel.
Who did yours?
Tim.
You.
Tim.
Tim. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
you guys sort of move around auctioneers a bit, do you?
We do, yeah. So we and look, I guess that's everyone's busy, but we're all. I called an auction recently and sold it in Hawthorn at $5.5 million. I enjoy it, but I think I do separate out those functions. I'm an agent. I'm dealing with the buyers and the buyers advocates like yourself, and the auctioneer has a specific task, and that's the way I view it. That's the way I started my career in Brisbane and Sydney. They tend to have a contract auctioneer. Probably the agents down here love that, bit of marketing uplift that they get. I don't care about that. I'm not seeking that.
Yeah. Interesting. Obviously, as you know, I mean, we're not necessarily as inclined to call you in search of off markets.
Yes.
Because you sort of, we
sort
of tend to filter further down.
Your own report. Yeah.
Well, we tend to filter further down, grassroots levels. But no, we make off market calls to all agents in Melbourne. And Abercrombie's do tend to have a lot on offer. Agents across or through the business do tend to have quite a few off markets always available for different reasons, as we know. We know that vendors have lots of different reasons for why they would either choose to or agree to sell their property off market.
Absolutely.
I think that it seems to be favourable by a lot of people. A lot of buyers want that. A lot of vendors, I think, are loving it. Do you foresee that section of the market or that section of sales sort of growing in the future? What are your thoughts around it?
Yeah, I do. I think it has potential, a major potential, because of, there's so many more buyers advocates. It really, what I think it relies on. I mean, it relies on understanding.
Yes.
And knowledge. And
fair play.
And fair play. Yeah, straight rules of engagement. So I had a conversation with someone today, and they this was a buyer on an off-market opportunity, because we've done it for 20 years. It's been a major part of our business. And he took a view on a property at one level, and I just said, well, listen, I take your point, but I disagree with you based on this. Now, I'd like you to come back and I'd like you to reassess it, because the property has more inherent value, even on the land alone. Yeah. And he said, okay, I take the point and I'll come back and look. And I said, you may not buy it, but at least come and reassess it. And what I see there is there's just a little bit of a lack of understanding. And that's where, once again, it'll happen more as people engage with buyers advocates who know this stuff like you both do. Those transactions will become easier. Where you find the standoff is where people just don't understand.
Yeah.
And then they will change their view in an open market setting
Oh,
just because someone else thinks it's it. So
yeah.
But are you finding a lot more vendors are wanting to sell in that way, or do you think that not people do want to see their day in the sun and go to market?
There's definitely people in both camps. The way I would say is that cost of living pressures are real for everyone. Doesn't matter how much money you've got or how many assets. Sometimes you don't want to be exposed because you had it on market in a prior period and it didn't go so well. So I think there is an appetite. People love the idea of an off-market setting.
Yeah.
But once again, it goes back to what's the asset, where is it, what are the market conditions, what's their expectation. I mean, I had a lady, this is fact from this morning, we'll sell it off-market at X price. I won't mention addresses, price.
Yeah.
And my advice to them, I said, look, I'm not even going to bring someone through if that's the expectation.
Because it's too high.
It's just not worth your time or my time. And she said, okay, no problem. And that's it. Now, that was the conversation.
And what is the price bracket that you mostly sell in?
In my dreams, it's sort of 20 to 30 million. It's probably, look, I'm really probably, my average is in 3 to 20.
Yeah.
Somewhere there.
Yeah.
And
just a broad range.
Just a broad
3
range.
to 20.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a nice space.
That's a nice option code range.
Yeah.
3 to 20, wouldn't that be nice? But and it's been a space that I enjoy and our business has enjoyed, and we've always been associated with that higher end of the market, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My question earlier, and you touched on it, was going to be about an agent's relationship with advocates, buyers advocates, and then I'll ask you the same thing around when you have a vendor's advocate involved in the transaction. But I mean, a lot of times people I think that we are on opposite sides, so we all don't get along, and it's quite toxic, and we fight, and there's argy-bargy. That's not the opinion I have of my role as an advocate in relation to an agent. But I mean, how have you found this? Advocates being a growing market, and
I think once again it comes down to there's people who are good people and they're knowledgeable, and then there's people who are probably less experienced. Let's use that and less knowledgeable. Inherently assholes. Thank you. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off there. So there's tricky people, and they come across as slippery or slimy, or they're distrusting of us.
Yes.
So I think it's just that normal relationship piece, communication piece. I think if we play a straight bat, there's parameters. There might be some ambitious expectations, but we'll frame it as such. We'll say, look, probably chasing more than it's worth, but that's the goal at the moment. And look, typically in an off-market setting, there is a little bit of protection and fat built in. You know that. Not always. Sometimes there really are people who need to sell. They don't have the funds to get it to market, or they're whatever the case.
It's expensive.
It's expensive, and that goes back to your question earlier. Will the off-market? I think the cost of it all now is such that
mental. The barrier. The cost
massive
of
barrier.
entry.
Yeah.
The barrier. I mean, because we do the vendor advocacy, of course, in the business. And I just, so many times I sit with these people and I think to myself, if I could get you the right price off market, it's just would be so much easier for them.
For them.
Not for me.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just goes, we just do it every day. But for them, I just feel so bad for people who their life is uprooted.
Yes.
And they have to go through this long process. It's
emotional
long,
as well.
And it's so highly emotional. It's so intense. They've got everything on the line. They have to keep living there. It's horrific, really. Like if they're not living there on the market.
Yeah.
But when people are living there, it's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And so, I do see it as something where it's a big cost, and hence the rise of, pay later options and all these sorts of things in our real estate space, which quite frankly have been amazing, because it is allowing people to get the packaging of their whole marketing right.
Yeah.
And
is that happening with pre-sale works as well, like painters and things? Yeah.
To a limit. Yeah,
to
a level.
A limit, yeah.
But and then you can use multiple suppliers for that. So one might go to a limit for certain things, and you can use a separate supplier to do other work. So there's quite you can absorb a lot as a pay later or pay from the sale proceeds these days.
But God, the pre-sale works sub 7K for any given property are gone are the days.
Oh.
Now it's like 30.
Well,
20
when
to
I
30.
first started in at place in Brisbane, we were selling $9.95 everything.
Everything.
That was realestate.com
Get the house
domain.
ready. Yeah.
You'd have that wasn't get everything ready. That was probably you'd have a little bit of stock. That was the advertising. But you think that was $1,000.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lifetime ago now because I'm old and crusty, but that it's hard to believe. Now it is $12,000 to get a property with a video. And videos are required these days.
Yeah.
Well, how about vendor advocacy? What do you think?
It's a rising thing. I did it myself. I think it's a really valid service, people having a buffer. I think if there's a relationship with agents, that's that they still sometimes will have a vendor advocate, and sometimes not. So there's certainly cases where they're probably less favourable. There really is that extra layer, which is just like you sometimes you wonder, but other times they're really productive and helps the whole process. So I think it's a really valid and valued service for certain people. Really good.
Yeah, we like to think so,
That's right.
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about the different types of houses, or am I?
Different types of houses.
Like just in terms of what are you finding that buyers are liking and hating in properties at the moment?
So definitely at the moment, the one theme that is the renovated product.
Yeah.
So they don't have to go through
Turnkey.
planning. Turnkey. So I've got one at the moment in Hawthorn, and we had 55 groups through in the first viewing, which was like 160 odd people, and people were saying, gosh, it's like a theme park, and it's a highly renovated architectural piece.
Oh, stunning.
Stunning.
Yeah.
But it's it really showcases people are looking for the finished product.
Yeah.
If they can achieve it.
Yeah. And it's such a combination of factors. Like I think the biggest factor for it is obviously financial, but it's also not financial because they're prepared to pay for the product. It's mostly that they're time poor.
Yeah.
100%.
They just don't. It takes so much time. Are you living there? Are you not living there? Are you holding two properties while you do it? Are you dealing with the builder? Like who's dealing with the builder? Who's dealing with any of it? It's sort of,
I spoke to a young lady today who's had plans, without mentioning names, suburbs and what have you. She had plans for 2 years. There was an objection and almost a bribe to get it through. To get it through, maybe a new shed perhaps. So anyway, it's been holded for 2 years, and then the neighbours finally said just recently in the last week, look, don't worry about the shed. You're fine to do it. So it's been held up for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so that's what people are trying to avoid.
Yeah.
I mean, there's massive holding costs. There's, I spoke to a luxury builder, one of the best in Melbourne, and he said he's just built his own home. It's magnificent. And he said, I was 20% out. And if he doesn't know, that means no one knows.
Oh my God, that's scary.
Talking about luxury builders, do you have a lot of builders ask you for your opinion on like what good what are buyers wanting? What does a good floor plan look like? So I went through a new townhouse recently, and the study without a door, without any external windows, was right next to this sort of kids' rumpus room area. And then they had another second living, but that too didn't have any doors to close that area off, which I'm just sort of imagining a family in this space going,
you're not sure if it works.
Yeah. Do you have –
So you would get people asking you to review these floor plans from a purchase. We definitely get it from a pre-build or in planning stage. And I always have a bit of a red flag when someone just keeps telling me how good their architect is. I often find when they're so loving of their architect, the pattern that I've seen emerge over 20 years is they're so deeply invested in the architect they have forgotten about the plan, and the architect has too much
creative
scope.
Control,
and that's where I always challenge. So I went through one the other day. The people didn't even mention the architect. It turns out they're one of the best architects in Melbourne. The floor plan is impeccable. It has been thoroughly scrutinised. It's fantastic for that setting. And so we do a lot of that work. A lot of it. And you're right. You see some Tabitha, and you just go, oh my God, what were they thinking? Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I think more people should do it. That's why I wanted to chat about it, because if you are planning on, renovating or doing a new build, just chat to your local real estate agent about what they think of it. Yes, it might be for you to live in and enjoy for the next 5, 10, 15 years, but, I just see some renovations. I'm like, oh my gosh, you just thought about yourself in that one.
Because sometimes people go into the box ticking phase where it's just let's get a 4-bedroom and this. But if you took it back to a 3 and had a flexible space,
yes,
then you've got a better outcome. And
yeah,
and I guess you see how floor plans. I'm selling a Wayne Gillespie home in Armadale at the moment, and it's 30 years old.
Yeah,
and you can see some old spaces that's not a current floor plan. And so, but what I do know is that the Wayne Gillespie home can be really easily adapted to a current floor plan.
Yes.
And so, if you don't understand that, you're missing an opportunity.
Yeah,
I think if you just fire questions. What do you say, Sam?
Rapid fire.
Fire.
Is this not to being too boring? God.
No. I
think it's just we've been talking for too long and we need to give the people what they want. So what's your favourite property to sell?
Property sell. I love Victorians with the modern architectural reno. I really do. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's
on the end?
Yeah, box on the end. I love terrace houses. I love Federation houses. Victorians particularly, where they have a really beautiful, well-resolved, new contemporary renovation magic.
Yeah.
Single level, double fronted, rear lane access.
Beautiful.
She's just saying that because that's the house that she renovated.
That's my favourite. It's the best property type.
Oh, my God.
I think so. Timeless.
And I know you sell a lot of very special homes, but we want the address of one of the most unique, memorable homes that you've sold.
Yeah, wow. So there's two ends of the spectrum. So Jock and I listed Shrublands, which is we sold for in excess of 35 million, and that was that's in Canterbury, Bourne Road. It's unbelievable history. I guess at the other end of the spectrum is a home that was on Macaulay Road in North Melbourne. We got called in because we do a lot of warehouse conversions.
Oh, yeah, that's...
And that was on Renovations Australia. So everyone knew the history, everyone knew the price, what they'd spent, what they'd paid for it. And it was so unique. It was a 1-bedroom and a really successful young couple bought it and they love it. But I had about 200 people through it and it was just one person who loved it. But that was bizarre. It was like, I won't they called it it had a room basically which was suspended in a stainless steel mesh curtain.
Oh my God!
They called it the tea bag or the ball sack. Can I say that?
You can say whatever you like. You can literally say whatever you like.
Not for kids button on
not
YouTube.
For kids,
don't worry.
Sorry. Yeah. But that was another. Oh, there's been so many. We've sold cattle studs.
Yeah, you guys do sell a lot of unique property.
Yeah. So that's a big part of it. We are the essence of a relationship style business. So we will get called into all sorts of things, and if you put the right smarts behind and strategy behind a program, and you talk frankly with people, you set things up for success. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, love it. And lastly, if you weren't in real estate, what would you be doing?
I'd be straight down to Brighton Toyota, get a new 300 series, go and pick up a Patriot camper trailer and start driving around Australia.
Yes.
Hang on.
I feel like that's very near in your future.
Hang on a second. I definitely thought we were talking about like another career, not just like if you weren't working.
No more working.
You're leaving. You've worked hard and fast and you've got to get out.
Grey nomad. I've got grey hair.
Gosh. What does your wife think about that strategy?
That's the only challenge. She'll probably fly and meet me. So
that's not bad.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah.
As long as she doesn't mind living in a camper van.
No, well, she did allow me to buy one at one stage and she's been great with that. But, as to the future, I'll definitely be doing it by myself at this stage.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with a Lone Ranger on the road.
Exactly. Okay, Sam, round us out.
F, marry, kill. I'm sure you've seen.
I've seen it. Gee whiz, I'm scared.
Heard? Yeah. No. This is so easy, so vanilla for you, Simon. You work in some of we feel the best suburbs in Melbourne. Like we're inner city girls. We love it here.
Yeah.
Malvern, Hawthorn, Armadale.
I remember when you two first at Bigger Than Scott.
Yeah.
Because I just remember it thinking, because I was looking at where I could go and latch onto, and in terms of work.
Yes.
And I just remember you two so clearly.
Really?
Oh my gosh, that's so
unbelievable.
funny.
Really?
Yeah, because you had such volume of business.
Oh, yeah.
We did, yeah.
That
My
office was
gosh.
incredible.
And, for us to have cut our teeth in that business, I'm
Unbelievable.
so grateful that is where I landed. I just randomly landed there, and I was there for almost 8 years.
Yeah,
9
unbelievable.
years. Yeah, amazing place
Yeah.
to work. Incredible the volume. I mean, if anyone ever works anywhere in high volume, high turnover, high stress, high pressure, but high level of service also.
Yep.
It's just you can't ask for anything better. For we were in our teens when we started there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic. No, really good business still.
Yeah, still good business.
So you've got
F,
to
marry, kill.
tell us what
Malvern,
suburbs
Hawthorn,
are
Armadale.
you, ride or dying with or killing off or
And some might say they're all the same.
but they're not.
But they're not.
So
Malvern, Hawthorn, Armadale.
I love Hawthorn.
Yeah.
So you're marrying that one?
I'm going to marry Hawthorn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Really?
everything about it, trains, pubs, the school belt.
Yeah.
I just love the energy. It's got enough. It's a great spot.
Yeah.
It's got enough of
Yeah.
everything and doesn't feel like I
You're
won't
gonna-
say. I won't say.
Die, slow down.
It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like the burbs. It's just a great mix.
Yeah.
Bigger than the Richmond
Yes.
scene and
Yes.
in terms of the
Love
block
it.
sizes. Yeah, great spot.
More family orientated than the Richmond scene too, I reckon.
yeah,
Yeah.
just a good mix of everything.
Yeah.
Nice spot to be.
Yeah. Marry Hawthorn. Who are you going to
Kill
spend
off.
some time with on the weekends?
Yeah.
In the in terms of suburbs.
Yes.
Because of course it'd be you too if it, gee whiz, yeah.
Gee whiz.
I'd be heading Bayside somewhere.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you've got to. You're not
We're-
listening
no.
to our
No, I
instructions.
know. Oh, okay, I'm staying local.
Malvern, you've got to pick out of the three. So you've married Hawthorn, that's
Married
out.
Hawthorn,
And
yep.
But Malvern and Armadale, you have to kill one and you have to have just one
Yeah,
night stands
okay.
with one.
Okay,
So
so
which one do you think's a better fling suburb?
But you would like to have one night stands with Bayside.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not on
yeah.
the options.
Well, it's not an option. So let's break the rules.
But you've found a new mistress.
Okay, fine. So what are you killing then?
I'll kill off. Oh, gee whiz, this is bad.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Gee, this is.
It was an easy one, turned
Malvern.
shocker.
I just said Malvern.
Yeah. Do you know,
Yeah.
I thought it.
Well, don't.
I didn't say it, but I thought it.
You know what? I love it,
I
but
love it there though.
Hawthorn beats it, and so does Armadale.
Yes. Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Love it.
Simon.
Well, thank you so
What
much
a
So
for
legend.
nice
joining
to
us.
see you both.
Thank you for
Lot of
coming.
fun.
Simon
Yeah.
Curtin, Abercrombie's. If you need a boutique agency and an agent that cares, and private auctions is his jam.
In
He's your
East?
man. Oh, he'll do
Armadale.
wherever
Armadale.
he
Yeah.
goes wherever the Rolls drives
we
him.
go. That's right.
Yeah. Are you really in a role?
No.
Are you serious? My God.
Souped up car.
I don't
He
know.
actually looks like he should be out like in Danny Dong ways with that little
I've got
bloody...
an old Holden Ute.
No,
so,
he doesn't. He
no.
has.
I do
he
not have a
has
Rolls Royce.
trickery.
He has moved away from the Mercedes world, though.
Yes,
I'll tell you
that's
that
true.
much. Okay, thanks again.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.